also make sure.
Hi, and welcome into this week's edition of AFMC TV. We're glad you're joining us. Boy, we've got the bottle rockets, the sparklers, and the Roman candles ready to go. But before we light any of those ignitions, we've got a few questions for Andy Kelly, one of our firefighters out of North Little Rock. Thanks for joining me.
Welcome. Thanks for having me.
So what are some of the basics when it comes to fireworks safety? Obviously you can't just shoot them anywhere. You'd want to find like a flat surface maybe to shoot.
Right. Biggest thing I would say is going to be if there's a burn ban in effect, your surroundings for the yards, grass, fields, things like that. But definitely want to be on a solid flat surface.
Okay. Is it a good idea to have water nearby just in case?
Absolutely. Water hose if you can. If you don't have that access, I'd say fill up a few buckets. Mm-hmm. The more you have, the better off you're going to be.
Mm-hmm. Better to have it and not need it than something happen.
Exactly.
Talk about the burn bans and maybe a little bit about if a person is caught when that county is under a burn ban, some of the things that happen then.
So the burn ban is basically going to be based off of the temperature and how the grass is at that time. As far as what would happen, you very well get a ticket. It's kind of going to be up to how that officer's feeling at that moment when he shows up. So, they might tell you, put everything out, get some water, but more than likely you'll get ticketed for it. The price, I don't know what that costs.
Sure. I'm sure it won't be cheap regardless.
No.
Talk a little bit about your experience as a firefighter in and around 4th of July and maybe some of the experiences that you've witnessed as a result of maybe fireworks.
So, I've obviously worked fires from fireworks, whether it's a grass fire. We had, I was on shift last year and we actually had a little house fire because a kid shot one into the living room, therefore a couch caught on fire. But I've also worked them where, with children, not letting go and they're trying to hold it and, throw it up in the air and not letting go and it actually kind of burn them, explode. And it's, it's tough to see that, but, I bet you they don't do it again.
It's a hard way to learn a lesson,
That's right.
isn't it? So what would be some advice you'd give to parents?
At least have, your water available, have adult supervision around. I've got a teenage daughter. I'll let her light them, but I wouldn't. If I had a adolescent or something like that, I wouldn't let a child actually light them off. I know as she was growing up, I'd take her up there with me. I'd light, and we'd kind of step back. So you can still have fun doing it that way, and it's just the safer way to do it. So.
Is there anything we need to keep in mind when we are going to go purchase fireworks, getting a box of sparklers or Roman candles, whatever?
I think I live over in Cabot, and I know the people that we go to, they're very knowledgeable. So, ask questions when you're buying them. Just, don't be afraid to say, hey, is this kind of a dangerous one? Should I, steer clear of it? But that's what I would do. Just ask the sellers plenty of questions.
And if you light one and it's a dud or kind of fizzles, it doesn't explode, what do you need to do?
Walk away from it. Give it several minutes. If you got the water hose there, go ahead and stand back, spray it down. If you don't and you're using a bucket, give it a few minutes, grab the bucket and kind of toss it on there because they could still go off.
At the end of the day, is it better to just leave it to the professionals and go watch the displays?
It really is.
Sometimes.
It really is. But I get it. I understand. It's fun to do, but it's also dangerous to do.
Yeah.
So
it is fire, after all.
Exactly right.
Okay. Anything else that we need to keep in mind? I guess I always have someone with a phone that could call 911.
Phone readily available. First aid kit just in case somebody does get burned. But I think, having a water hose or buckets of water is probably the biggest, besides adult supervision.
If someone does get burned, do they need to throw water on it, or?
It's kind of different. I mean, in our experience, what we're going to do is we're going to apply like a saline solution, and kind of, if it's just like a first degree where it's just right there on your hand or something, you might have some burn particles, and kind of, we've got spray, and it'll kind of just move all that away. And then, if it's a child, it's going to be a little more delicate, but, water, 4x4 pads, gauze kind of thing. And then if it blisters, put some, ointment on there to help with that.
Okay. All right. Andy Kelly, thank you so much.
You're very
Happy
welcome.
Independence Day.
Happy Independence Day.
Joining us now is Dr. Beth Milligan, one of the doctors here at AFMC, but also has firsthand experience in the emergency room and dealing with some firework accidents. And so Dr. Milligan joins us now. And Dr. Beth, first of all, wow, I bet 4th of July is a very busy time in the emergency room.
It can be. It sure can.
So you have witnessed firsthand when fireworks maybe don't go off like they should. What are some of the injuries that come into the ER during this season?
And the most common injuries seen with the fireworks is going to be burns to the hands and the fingertips. That's the number one. And number two is eye injuries when it comes to fireworks.
So what are some safety tips that we need to keep in mind if we're shooting fireworks on our own?
Well, the common sense, which you'll hear from people, is you need to make sure that you're using fireworks that have been sold properly and stored properly so that you're not going to have an injury. And also, don't let children get around the fireworks. And make sure you're a safe distance from fireworks, and you need to know what those fireworks will do. For example, you'll see people, sparklers are safe, and they'll hand a small child a sparkler, having no idea the child's holding it to their face, and that can cause burns and eye injuries.
What about bottle rockets and Roman candles? Sometimes they shoot off like they should, sometimes they don't.
Well, sometimes people will hold them in their hand and point them. I mean, I don't know anybody that has not heard somebody doing that, and they can explode on their hand or misfire, and then it can actually cause issues hitting you in the face.
So what happens if you are at a neighbor's house or in the backyard and you have a mishap? What are some of the very first things, in addition to calling 911, that we can do immediately to help minimize damage?
Well, you want to remain calm, obviously, and if you can, move the person away from the fireworks to a safe area. And one of the first things they say to do, if you can, is to take that area that's been burned and put not cold water, but tap water over, wash the area that's been burned. If it's eyes, if you can wash out the eyes as well to try to keep that extremity washed as quickly as possible.
What if you are at a fireworks display, and perhaps the advice stays the same, but if you are at a fireworks display and something goes awry and you end up getting burned?
Well, obviously, the first thing you want to do is move away from the area that's being burned, but you want to do pretty much the same thing with the burn injuries. If they can cool that area and apply what you're waiting for an ambulance to put not extremely cold water, not hot water, but put water over that area that's been burned.
Okay. And also some good advice is to just maybe leave it to the professionals.
Absolutely. If you don't have someone there that with medical knowledge, you want to leave it to someone that is trained to do that and wait till an emergency personnel could get there. But you can also, you ask with the burns, just try to get the clothing off the area that has been burned and bring that clothing off the burn.
Okay. Well, we want to minimize as many negative experiences as possible this 4th of July season. And so, Dr. Beth, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, I will tell you this. I think some people might laugh at me, but I actually wear hearing protection and eye protection goggles if I'm going to be the person that's going to be near the fireworks, like really near and helping set off the fireworks. I would say whoever is doing that needs to have eye protection and hearing protection from those loud noises. Protect your hearing.
And that's one thing we don't often think about. Maybe even some hearing protection if you're going to watch big displays as well.
Yes, for sure, because you can be sitting near it and it can be very loud explosions.
Great advice. Dr. Beth, thank you for popping on and joining us this afternoon.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. We'll see you back here next week for more AFMC TV.